My point has always been that as long as there are enough of us out there doing this and enough people putting it in their own way, look, I'm not right about everything, and I'm going to get things wrong, and I'm going to say things in a way that's going to offend people, or I'm going to turn some people off, whatever. But everyone out there putting it out in their own way is the only way forward. It's this. It's not in me, it's not in you, it's in all of us working together. And that is the real revolution that they're scared of, which is exactly why the YouTubes and Facebooks and Googles have been consolidated into these internet behemoths that must be controlled, because what they are really afraid of is us using the computing power and other technologies that really could help us to become the promise of the internet and all of this. They desperately want to shut that down.
You're listening to the Corbett Report.
All right, this is Luke of WeAreChange.org, joined today by the one and only James Corbett of the Corbett Report, a long-time fellow ally in independent media. I think that's one fair characteristic of explaining who you are. You've been in this kind of alternative independent media game just pretty much as long as I have. And James, I wanted to take this time that I have with you and to kind of not just get into this breaking news, headline, assault on people's consciousness. I wanted to take this moment with you and to kind of divulge into a bigger discussion about some of the bigger truths that are in society, but aren't really headline news. For me personally, one of those is that we should never use YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook as a metric to seeing what is popular or not, because that is being manipulated. A second one would be that it's not as bad as the media makes it out to be. Those are two of my big personal truths. Do you agree or disagree? And simply throwing the ball into your court, what are your bigger truths that are not headline news that you think people should be aware of?
Well, I 1000% agree that we shouldn't trust those controlled outlets for their metrics. I maybe agree that things aren't as bad as the metrics are broadcast to be, although it depends on what particular subject we're talking about. And the big truth that I have is that human nature is human nature and will never change, and most people don't really want truth. So I don't know where you want to delve into that. How about we start with topic number one? Yeah, Twitter, Facebook, Google, YouTube, we know these are controlled platforms, right? Yes, we all know that by now, from an abundant wealth of information from any number of insiders and whistleblowers, let alone what we can see with our own eyes, and the absolute undeniable tweaking of algorithms that have gone on to throttle channels like yours and mine and others in favor of the mainstream outlets. Surprise, surprise, it has already been taken over and corralled back into the system, exactly as we always knew it was. And as part of that, absolutely, the numbers are meaningless, garbage, internet point nonsense that make you, if you actually try to run a channel on YouTube, for example, by chasing the imaginary internet points that they dole out to you, you would go insane. Or you would just start becoming an absolute shill sellout in order to chase those points, which is why I don't even look at the YouTube numbers. I don't read the YouTube comments. I don't participate in that platform at all, other than to reach out into the matrix and hopefully grab a few people out of it. And it's getting harder and harder to do that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a great analogy. They're kind of like Chuck E. Cheese points now. That's what they should be considered, but still a large, share of the population sees subscribers and view counts, and they're like, oh yeah, this is popular. And I kind of caught myself in the same kind of manipulation, being like, why am I not getting so many views? And then I keep forgetting, well, it could also be that the viewership, the subscriber numbers are also being manipulated in many different ways. You decided to opt out of that system completely. You're not monetized on YouTube. You don't prioritize YouTube. You prioritize your website. We've been trying to make different kind of segues out. We've been trying an email list. Now our emails are going to the spam box. We've been trying with our website. Almost 1,000 people a day are being unsubscribed from our channel, including videographers that I hired that are watching our videos every single day. And they're like, yeah, I was just unsubscribe. So we got to understand we're playing on their turf, and they of course aren't going to be playing fairly. And when we're playing there, what we're doing is essentially what you described. We're trying to get people out of the matrix. We're trying to get them to take the blindfold out of their heads, trying to take it off and being like, hey, there's a whole nother reality. And the way that our reality is being manipulated, we still don't know the full ramifications of it, because it's a society. Ultimately, I would argue, James, it's a society that's being created, not just manipulated, but pushed along in a certain way by an algorithm that, of course, is only working for the special interests. It's not working for you and me. When did a private multinational corporation have the best interest of everyone? They don't, but they're entrusted somehow to have it, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Another thing that I wanted to kind of delve into was my second truth, and I kind of wanted your feedback on, was that it's not as bad as the news media kind of makes it out. Specifically, I wanted to talk about the quality of life, a lot of statistics showing that violent crimes are going down, showing that education, literacy, is going up, poverty is going down. I wanted to talk about the overall larger context of life is not as bad as the media makes it out to be. And I think the media has to make it bad in order to sell the headlines, to push in sort of a trauma-based mind control system that is pushing for more pain and hurt. And some would argue that this is being done because of monetary incentives. Some people say it's being done because of a bigger conspiracy. I wanted your take on just the state of the world and the picture that the media paints compared to the reality of it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and in many ways I agree with it. Although I'm not on the kind of Steven Pinker, everything's getting better with humanity, why do you care so much kind of attitude, which I think is a psyop in itself. But I agree that there is fear porn that is programmed into us to make us afraid of our neighbors and afraid of the world outside. But it is always a measure of relative comfort as opposed to what. You can talk till you're blue in the face to someone who's just lost their job and doesn't have any income and is living, hand to mouth. You say, oh, but look, we just hit a record high in the stock market and blah, 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 and all these phony metrics. It doesn't mean anything to that person, right? And you can say a million bad things to someone who's having a good day, and it won't mean anything to that person. The point is always relative to what. And if the model that we're given by the media is always one of divide and conquer, which it is, obviously, we have to hate this person, we have to fear this person. Can you believe what this person said? Can you believe what this politician is doing? It's always driving the wedge, and it's always trying to make us feel like the world is collapsing. And I've actually talked about this quite specifically. I did a podcast episode once on the coming anastrophe, which was a term I tried to coin. It's the opposite of catastrophe, right? It's anastrophe. Suddenly, what if suddenly we had this model, instead of everything suddenly falling apart and going to hell in apocalypse? What about a model of people coming together and supporting each other and finding a way forward? Why is that not even a concept that we have a name for, right? We can't even put a name to that because it's so far outside of our experience. No, we have to concentrate on catastrophe, cataclysm. Things are going to fall apart. We're all going to die. As opposed to, hey, there are a million billion solutions out there. Everyone has their own ideas. We could come together in so many different ways with people around us who mostly care about the same things and want the same things, but we're constantly divided apart. So that's the point at which I agree completely with what you're saying. We are not presented with models of how to cooperate and how to form solutions. We are being presented only with models of strife in order to keep us apart.
Yeah, and that's why I would even argue that whatever we focus on, we create. So what kind of realm are we just creating everything that we're kind of propelled to in this kind of negative thought loop cycle that's being pushed by trauma-based mind control? And the mind control is very emotional. It's very sophisticated, and it plays on our points of pain points, to the point where people aren't even rationally, calmly looking at the situation. They're in so much pain, they're in so much trauma that they just want their team, their gang, anything that they're associated with to win, that they're willing to throw out every little form of logic. We were just talking about it in a little bit. You were specifically bringing up Trump supporters, and I have to say, Trump supporters, they're not the most clairvoyant of groupthink individuals, but some of them are a lot more open-minded than the complete other side. I would argue on some context, generally speaking, if my audience would allow me to do that. What do you think? What's your assessment on that?
Yeah, I don't want to lump everyone in together and put them under a label and then just denigrate them, because that's what the mainstream media does, and the establishment media and the people who are trying to divide and conquer. What I want to do is point out the types of psychological backflips and manipulations that people put themselves through to make sure that their team is always right and is always the good guys on the clean side, and anything that happens is good. And I put this specifically in the context of feedback that I get about the Baghdadi. We killed him, but here's the one picture we're going to show you of the raid, and just trust us. We got his DNA and then threw him in the ocean, just like Bin Laden. He's done. I mean, just complete blatant nonsense, exactly the same as the blatant nonsense of the OBL story. But when it was Osama bin Laden and it was under Obama, the very same people who are now saying, go Trump, yay, 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 are the ones who 8 years ago would have been saying that's a load of garbage and nonsense. And I see this actually from some of the feedback that I get where, no, you see, you don't get it. Trump understands all this and he knows that it's all a game and a charade. But you see, he's playing into it so that he can undermine the propaganda and blah, blah, blah. It's like, what kind of nonsense backflips are you doing to say that this person who has the soapbox of all soapboxes in the world, anything he says is going to be publicized all around the world, who could actually come out and say the truth? No, he's playing into the lies in order to undermine the lies in 14-dimensional chess, blah, blah, blah. That kind of nonsense, which I'd always want to believe that people really do want the truth, even if it means that their side is wrong, even if it means, this guy I supported was lying to me. I just want the truth. But most people really don't want that truth. They really don't. And that's a difficult pill to swallow for those of us out there who are truly trying to get to the bottom of these issues. Because it's at that point that you realize, most of the people who even like the work that I do, as soon as I say the thing they don't want to hear, suddenly, I don't know about you. You're kind of weird. I've always had suspicions about you. Your work isn't as good as it used to be. Which it's just disappointing. Like, I don't care about other people's judgment of me, but it's just disappointing that to really realize most people are not looking for that truth if it hurts them in what they've constructed their identity around.
Yeah, I think we're living in such a fake reality that people aren't even able to comprehend something that is truthful because of so much noise, because of so much manipulation, because no one takes a moment to just sit down and to even just take a breather, relax, and to contemplate what's going on because of the news cycle.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point, because I never want to kick people who are down, and I don't want to insult people who are victimized for being victims. And we have to keep in mind, yes, the entire population of the world really has been under this trauma-based mind control conditioning for so long that, yes, I mean, even if truth is screaming at you in the face, it might be hard to even identify it because you've been just surrounded by lies your entire life. So I don't want to beat on people for being victims of this. But at some point, you gotta see the truth when it's there in front of your face.
Yeah. It's trauma to the point where it creates post-traumatic stress disorder in a lot of people when they hear something that attacks their own personal truth. There was even scientific studies comparing the fight or flight kind of situation that happens in the human brain when confronted with truths that they didn't agree with. And again, there's so many different points that we could get into this. The specific point I wanted to make about Baghdadi, that footage that they released looked like it was out of Call of Duty. Again, we're not getting any form of information. I started questioning it off the bat, and just like you, I got some criticism, but I'm just like you were describing, everything's great. That's kind of somewhat my mentality, to be quite honest with you, because I enjoy the conversations. I enjoy seeing how people tick and how they go about things. And it's interesting because one day you have someone saying, "Oh man, I love you. You're freaking great. I loved you when you confronted Hillary Clinton. I loved you when you went on Jeffrey Epstein's island." And then the second day, I'm the spawn of Satan because I called out how Baghdadi was allegedly killed 4 times. They announced his killing 4 times. The U.S. Pentagon, the Syrian government, the Iranian government, the Russian government, the Human Rights Observatory in Syria all announced Baghdadi's dead, Baghdadi's dead, all throughout the years. And I'm like, hey guys, Trump's not being fully honest here. But what do you take to some of the criticisms of people saying Trump's fighting the deep state? The media hates him. He's going against the establishment. He's moving troops back. Of course, my answer is, well, he's moving the troops next to the oil fields, and he's saying he's going to get them a deal for Exxon, and he's still doing deals with Saudi Arabia. But there has to be some kind of different way to reach out to these people to kind of show them the truth a little bit, because I believe people are afraid to live in the truth because they're afraid of what they're going to confront. But life is so much better, so much more amazing. You're so much more prepared. You're so much more empowered when you're living a life filled with truth than delusion. What is there a way, or should we just let it be? What do you think?
This is where you get into strategizing the truth. Like, oh, if I put it this way, or if I kind of cloak it this way, or sell it with this sort of package, then maybe these people will. But that you start second guessing yourself. I guess there's ways to do it, and I guess you can go down that sort of PR road. But I'm not going to do that, because I'm just going to do what I do, which is just present the information that I have in the best way I can, put it out there. Here's my sources. Here's what I found. And that is what I do. And I can't really, if I tried to do it in a different way or strategize to, maybe I can get people to understand it if I do it like this. No, I just got to do it the way I do it. And that will resonate with some people. It will turn other people off. We all just have to do what we can, because my point has always been that as long as there are enough of us out there doing this and enough people putting it in their own way, look, I'm not right about everything, and I'm going to get things wrong, and I'm going to say things in a way that's going to offend people, or I'm going to turn some people off, whatever. But everyone out there putting it out in their own way is the only way forward. It's this. It's not in me, it's not in you, it's in all of us working together. And that is the real revolution that they're scared of, which is exactly why the YouTubes and Facebooks and Googles have been consolidated into these internet behemoths that must be controlled, because what they are really afraid of is us using the computing power and other technologies that really could help us to become the promise of the internet and all of this. They desperately want to shut that down. And that's actually a point that I'm really starting to think about right now, and I'm definitely going to put something together on the ways that the technology itself, just the hardware of your physical desktop as a hard drive that you possess and you control and you store data there, and they're trying to eliminate that. And pretty soon, all you're going to have your little digital fondle slab that, everything is stored in a cloud that can be manipulated and erased at any time, that the powers that shouldn't be want it. That's the vision of the future that we have to fight against. We have to understand this power is here, and if we use it, we can accomplish something together. If that's taken away, game over.
Yeah, and it's a double-edged sword, and it could be used for good and it could be used for bad, and there's a lot of potential for bad, because just like programming on television was all that people saw, now the internet and the algorithms, they're having a tight squeeze on it, and they're doing everything they can to control almost every aspect of it, and they control it more than we think, and it's more sinister than we could even imagine as human beings. Now, as far as just calling out the left and right, just like you were talking about, I do the same thing, probably because I'm stubborn. I know some individuals that pretend to be just on the left or pretend to be just on the right. Some of them are my friends in this kind of industry, and they're like, no, man, I have to do this to like that. I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable doing that as well, because it feels sort of like selling out. It feels like it feels unethical when I know something and I have to hide it just to play party politics. I feel like I'm pushing the bigger divide. And to me, the biggest difference, the biggest kind of revolution will happen when we evolve and have an evolution away from being divided and conquered and fear-mongered against, and understand that the true power really lies within all of us. And it starts with us just calmly sitting there. I'm such a hippie. I can't believe I'm saying this. And meditating, and just relaxing, and just contemplating, and just not being in that 24-hour news cycle where you have people screaming at you, telling you need to see this, you need to do this, we're under attack, it's over, doomsday, Armageddon, World War III, Civil War, Ebola, zombie apocalypse is here. But you could buy my pills and things will be better.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, look, it doesn't have to be hippy-dippy or anything, but just how much time every day do people have to actually sit down and reflect and think about things without some sort of media input, some voice in their ear, some screen in front of their face. How much time? Even myself. All day I'm getting on podcasts, I'm watching videos, I'm talking to people on the internet. But how much time do I have to sit down and actually just reflect and be in my own head? And that's something we are starting to lose. And it is an important aspect of human nature. It shouldn't even need to be said that we need this type of reflectivity in order to function as real human beings in the real world, grounded in reality around us rather than what we see through a screen, myself included. So you're exactly right. We need more time for that.
Yeah, go out there, be a dirty hippie. Hell, take off your socks, put your feet in the ground, do some grounding, and take a moment and just relax a little bit. I'm saying this because I was guilty just like you are. I mean, it was just nonstop. It was like I made the horrible mistake just a few years ago of constantly having CNN on, just trying to look at all, like being bombarded with 16 hours a day, CNN playing on my television as I'm going through all the news, and I'm like, what am I doing? And just, until a couple months ago, I really started taking care of my physical and mental health. The mental health is just as important as your physical health, because as we consume food, we have to understand the same way we consume good food and bad food, and we feel good and bad because of that food. The same thing happens with the stimuli, the constant bombardment of information with whatever's coming through your phone or your television or your computer screen. If it's bad information, if it's negative information, it's going to have a negative, bad effect on you. And I think this is why we're having such a kind of mental health crisis in the Western world. But that's my own personal theory. But overall, I've been taking a lot of times, even today, I took a long walk, contemplated a bunch of things, or started my morning, woke up, just sat there and just processed a lot of the information, did my little meditation. Trust me, I feel a lot better because of it. And just realizing today, looking around, life is not as bad as the media makes it out. Our life is determined by us, and it's determined by us once we realize the true power that we have. James, thank you so much for coming on. It's like 2:00 in the morning for me here in New York City. I hope it's a better time for you there.
Let's use this as an opportunity to remind anyone who's subscribed to you to check whether they are still subscribed to me, because as you say, people are getting unsubscribed. And anyone who's subscribed to me should check if they are still subscribed to you, because people are getting automatically unsubscribed. And hey, why not? Try to find other ways to get this information rather than just through YouTube, like CorbettReport.com.
Yep, CorbettReport.com will be in the description, as well as your YouTube channel. I definitely recommend people check that out, and I sincerely want to thank all the people, even the people leaving comments like, hey, I just been unsubscribed 10 times. I want to thank those people individually for individually coming back every single time and clicking subscribe. This is going to be a fight. This is going to be something that's going to be long. It's going to be drawn out. It's not going to be easy. But if it was easy, it wouldn't be worth it. And it's a worthwhile fight. It's a fight for you. It's a fight for me. It's a fight for us. It's a fight for the future. And it's a fight that begins with one small conscious action moving in the right direction. I hope we illuminated you. Oh, there's going to be a whole bunch of conspiracies about that. I hope we allowed you to see some of those possibilities. James, thank you again of the Corbett Report for joining me today. Stay tuned for more here.
I didn't get a chance to say it on air. Hats off to you for the Epstein Island storming. That's the kind of stuff. Again, I wish more people were doing that. So I'm glad you're out there modeling it.
Yep, and just a reminder, Epstein didn't kill himself. Stay tuned for more here on WeAreChange.org.
The Corbett Report is brought to you by you. Your support makes the Corbett Report possible. Sign up for the subscriber newsletter or purchase a DVD at corbettreport.com/support.